Welcome to The Terrible Take, a daily segment telling Steeler Nation what's on our minds. I'm Melanie Friedlander. Demaurice Smith, the current but soon-to-be former executive director of the NFLPA, made headlines this week. Per Yahoo, Smith published a nearly 100-page paper on Wednesday that he has worked on for about 2 years, in which he calls the 20-year-old Rooney Rule a failure and called for its elimination. In its place, he instead offered 12 recommendations for the league to create a fair and equal hiring system. Smith, who is an attorney, wrote with the help of a law student who works as his assistant. Included in their suggestions is the mandate that no head coach or coordinator position be filled until a certain number of days after the Super Bowl, which would give every candidate time to prepare and prevent teams from ignoring qualified candidates who are occupied with playoff games. Other stipulations included increasing transparency in the hiring process and requiring the league to make it more uniform, eliminating the need to ask for a team's permission to interview a candidate, selecting an outside monitor to perform periodic audit on teams' hiring processes and publish an annual report, and requiring the NFL's chief diversity officer to develop league-wide job descriptions, uniform standards for contracts, objective guidelines, and lawful interview questions for all senior and executive positions, including head coach and general manager. When it comes to compliance, Smith wants the league to adopt strict and significant punishments for team and league officials that don't follow these rules the same way that players are held accountable, with fines starting at $5 million and escalating from there. The Rooney Rule was developed with all the best intentions. In some instances, it can work. I honestly don't know if current Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin would have gotten his interview without that requirement in place. But there were only 2 minority head coaches when the Rooney Rule was implemented, and in 2023, there will be only 3, or 4 if you include Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniels, who is biracial. Last year, 65 current and former NFL coaches of color received a confidential survey from the NFLPA, and 47 responded. Greater than 90% of those who participated in the survey responded that there needs to be more transparency in the hiring process, salaries, and benefits for head coaches, and that race does play a role in all coaching decisions, including head coaches and coordinators. 90% said federal statutes prohibiting discrimination are not observed or obeyed in hiring practices in the NFL. Smith isn't wrong that the league needs to find a better way to provide opportunity to more potential leaders. In a league where the majority of players are Black, it's hard to imagine that there isn't a higher percentage of qualified Black coaches who could potentially lead more of those 32 teams. In his criticism of the Rooney Rule, Smith is not trying to tear down what Dan Rooney helped create. He simply feels that the rule, as it is written and currently implemented, doesn't address the issue in the way that Dan Rooney and the rest of the committee originally intended. Demaurice Smith is making some valid arguments and suggestions. The only question is whether the league and the incoming NFLPA executive director will listen. That's my take. You can follow me on Twitter @GirlSurgeon. Check out The Terrible Take every day at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Follow us on SteelersDepot.com and check out The Terrible Podcast with Dave Bryan and Alex Kazora every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.